Well, always interesting things going on in the neighborhood, Jackie, and West Des Moines is no stranger to have really interesting programs.
Yeah, and I love it when when both of these guests come. But Gail Brubaker joining us, Executive Director of West Des Moines Historical Society. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning.
Which means some pretty exciting things have to be happening. And when I think Iowa history, there's a couple people that come to my mind, but one always makes its way to the top, and that's Leo Landis. This man's brain is always incredible. How you can retain what you do, sir, and how much you care about our state and its history, as you are the state curator over at the State Historical Society of Iowa.
That's very kind of you, Jackie. It's great to be here, too.
Okay, so what are we talking about today?
Well, we're taking advantage of Leo's great brain this Sunday at the West Des Moines Public Library for a fascinating program about, I think, maybe a little-known part of Iowa history, the fight to desegregate our schools.
Okay.
And there was one family, the Clark family, that was really integral in getting our schools desegregated decades before Brown versus Board of Education.
Sure.
Something else for Iowans to be extremely proud of.
Okay, so people can be a part of this event coming up Sunday.
Yes, Sunday, West Des Moines Public Library at 2:30.
All right.
And it is free and open to the public thanks to West Des Moines Historical Society members and the Friends Foundation of the West Des Moines Public Library.
And you said the Clark family and Susan Clark family, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And why is it important to, and we're going to hear more about that history in a moment with Leo, but why is it important for us to be reminded of this history that is so important here in the state of Iowa, in our backyard?
I think we need to remember our history to know where we came from and where we're going. I think, and I'm guilty of this as well, we take a lot of the advantages we have for granted. I take it for granted that I get to go and vote, but women for decades really had to fight, and they were tortured for the right to vote. Families who paid taxes weren't allowed to use public schools because of the color of their skin. We know that's wrong. Today that is kind of shocking to us, but it really was the societal norm. So I think we have to be aware of all of the wonderful forward momentum that we've had and not let it go.
Absolutely. Okay, Leo, break it down. What are we talking about?
Well, so Alexander Clark, Catherine Clark are a couple who live in Muscatine, Iowa. Alexander had come from Ohio to Muscatine County in the 1840s, and their daughter Susan is 12 years old, 13 years old in 1867. They enroll her in Muscatine schools, and not just Muscatine, but Dubuque, Keokuk, Des Moines, a number of larger communities in Iowa had segregated schools, and that's part of our history that we don't often know.
Okay.
Alexander Clark had been active in the Republican Party. No African American could vote in Iowa in 1866, 67, so that was another issue he was working on for men. But he wanted his daughter to be able to go to the same school that any other child could go to. So he files a lawsuit, or she, on her behalf. She is the plaintiff in the case of Clark versus Board of Directors of Muscatine
This
Schools.
12-year-old.
12-year-old girl in 1867 or 1867. It's September 10th. She tries to go to school. So, you know, we hear about Brown versus Board of Education as a case in 1954. This is 87 years before Brown. This is happening in Iowa.
Oh, so a lot of forward thinking, a lot of people saying we should have the rights as everybody else.
Not all Iowans felt that way. When you see the newspaper reports that come out after the case is ruled, so the Muscatine District Court in that December rules in favor of the Clark family, in favor of Susan. So Muscatine says no, all children should be able to go to whatever school is available. And the Muscatine School Board doesn't agree with that. And so they take it up to the Iowa Supreme Court. And so it goes to the Iowa Supreme Court in April of 1868. And in 1868, Justice Cole, in a 3-1 decision, and that's one where Chief Justice Cady, the late Justice Cady, gets a lot of credit for hearing cases outside of Des Moines. The Iowa Supreme Court was doing that in the 1800s too. So in 1868, they're in Davenport, I believe, and that's where the case comes down from the Iowa Supreme Court with Justice Cole ruling, saying all youth are equal before the law in Iowa. You can't make any discrimination on race, nationality, religion, or any other case.
Oh my goodness.
Why is this Iowa history, which is so important, why is this often forgotten or not talked about?
You know, it's one of those stories, I think, that because it especially in central Iowa, we don't always know our eastern or western Iowa stories. Right. And the judicial branch of Iowa has been good at telling this story. Drake University did a great documentary on the 150th anniversary that if people want to reach out to me at leo.landis@iowa.gov, I can send that link to them. But I think because it's 150 plus years now, and a story that we think of Iowa as being, fairly tolerant. We had racism and still have discrimination at times in our state.
Yeah,
wow,
absolutely.
But all started over in the Muscatine area is what got the ball rolling.
It
to
did.
Get things changed.
But Des Moines had segregated schools into the 1870s, actually. There was still, they used
so
the
it
term,
changed for Muscatine, but it didn't change for here.
Not all Iowans were on board. Dubuque was the last community. They were still trying to segregate their school in 1877.
Even if this ruling came down from the Supreme Court?
Exactly.
Really?
Yes.
They were bucking it.
Yeah, so the Dubuque newspapers have a story of the school board minutes in 1877 saying we are still trying to enforce our what they called colored schools, or their African American school. And a man named Joseph Howard, on behalf of his daughter Carrie, says, hey, there's this 1868 Iowa Supreme Court case, Clark, based on Susan Clark's efforts to say, so Dubuque says, oh, I guess we can't segregate our schools anymore.
Wow, I had no idea.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing.
And the Drake University video that Mr. Landis refers to, the actors came to the Jordan House and actually read newspaper articles. They were dressed in contemporary clothing, but read newspaper articles, and it's a little cringeworthy. The language in the newspaper articles is, to our ears, incredibly offensive.
Really?
There are words that we do not use, and newspapers certainly didn't use, that were thrown around in these records that are just, and it was fascinating to watch these African American actors read this, but it was a little cringeworthy too, because it's not a comfortable thing. But to have that be at the Jordan House, which is a stop on the Underground Railroad, was just a wonderfully circular time.
Right.
So we were just thrilled to be asked to be part of that.
Wow.
So I would inundate Mr. Landis with emails for that link to that video.
There you
Get the link.
It's a part of our history, and you can learn more by being a part of a wonderful free to the public event that's happening this Sunday. So give us all those details again.
The Iowa Files, Susan Clark and the Fight for Desegregated Schools, Sunday, 2:30 to 3:30 at the West Des Moines Public Library.
Okay.
So in the community room. So the West Des Moines Library has been undergoing a lot of renovation, but they are open and welcoming, and we're just thrilled to have.
Do we have any idea how many people that can accommodate?
90.
90. That's a good number.
It is. Yeah. So we come early. The doors open at 2 o'clock, and Mr. Landis will start at 2:30.
Let's pack the space.
Yeah, definitely.
Incredible part of our history. Yes. Okay, Leo, always great to see you. Thank you for joining us today.
You are welcome.
An amazing thing is always happening at our West Des Moines Historical Society. If people want to learn more, where's the best place to go?
Go to our Facebook page, because that's a lot easier for me to update than the website. Or
that's the truth.
WDMHS.org.
Wonderful.
And you guys are always great about hosting wonderful events to really make sure we're remembering our history.
We're celebrating our 50th year in 2020, so we're going to have some great anniversary celebrations going on as well. So if you love history, come like our Facebook page and keep in touch with all the great stuff we have going on.
Love it. All right. Thank you both for joining us today. All right. More great things heading your way. Are you trying to make plans for Valentine's Day? We might have something completely out of the box to show you next. There's a look towards downtown as we keep an eye on the structure fire that's been reported, but more great things heading your way as well. Crossroads Shooting Sports coming in next.